Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
Welcome everyone. Today we're here to help build your cloud architect career, your AWS solutions architect career, your Azure solutions architect career, your network architect career, or your enterprise architect career. My name is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I've been in this architecture world for over 25 years now, and I've had every architecture role you can possibly think of. I am here and joined by Mark Milovanovic. He's our Chief Technology Officer. He's a CCI, and he's deeply technical and an expert on business as well. And we're here today to help you build your cloud computing career. The reason we do this is there's two ways to get to your goals. One way is to learn by making mistakes, And those mistakes cost you a tremendous amount of time, effort, and money. And the other way is to ask people that have already made it, so you don't have to make those mistakes. And that's why we're here. I wish I had a guide initially. I would have, believe me, saved tens of thousands of dollars going to different boot camps that did absolutely nothing for me. And then when I figured out what was necessary, poof, I instantly had my job. And within 2 years, I was a principal architect, because on that first job, I asked the VP of architecture, what do you want in a distinguished or principal architect? He told me, and then I made it. So that's why we're here today. But before we begin, I want to tell you about a lot of exciting things we have for you. This month, we are going to run the AWS Advanced Networking Boot Camp. And, you know, that we're going to have a fun time. This is going to be a full 2-week boot camp. There's going to be lectures, plenty of labs for the engineering folks that are there, and it's going to be a good time. And we want you to be great, you know, so we're going to bring in some experts to teach. We have 2 Cisco certified internet experts teaching. We have a Cisco certified network professional, and all of them have been working deeply in cloud computing, cloud architectures, and network architectures. So we're going to teach you what you need to know. Look, the AWS Advanced Networking by itself is a little basic. We're going to get much deeper. We're going to have labs and things that are on the network, outside of the cloud, on the cloud, so you understand it all. It's going to be fun, so sign up now. I'm going to tell you that tomorrow we have our absolutely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And we will go over the role, what we do, what hiring managers want, how to bypass those pesky HR people that are going to auto-reject you if you don't have 10 Olympic gold medals and 40 years experience. And if you go straight to the hiring manager so you can get hired, and our students do all the time, and you can too as well. We even have a free book on how to get your first cloud architect job, and I would love you to download that as well. So come, ask your questions, and let Mark and I actually help you build your career. If you have questions, we'll be providing answers. If you have no questions, Mark and I have a lot of things to do. So Mark, you want to introduce yourself to everyone and welcome everyone from your perspective?
Yep, I wanted to welcome everybody to this session that we have today. As Mike mentioned, my name is Mark Milovanovic. I have about a decade of experience when it comes to the networking field. I'm also a CCIE, so that says at least I know the fundamentals, as we like to say. And like Mike said, none of us really have 10 gold medals. And that's why we're here, to at least help you understand what can you practically do to help you get that job. It may be your first job, or it might be a better job. But either way, we do look forward to your questions, and let's go have some fun.
So bring us your questions so we can help you build your career. Tyrone back there over in Cape Town, South Africa. Have any questions come in so far? Okay, there is one.
Looks like first one is from Tin Man 120. And they ask, hey, Mike, I am completely new to the field. Would you recommend getting a basic understanding of things before trying to figure out if I want to specialize in something?
Okay, Tin Man, that's a real rough one. So, you know, this reminds me of the undeclared major in college. And to be fair, I was one of them. By the time I graduated with my 4-year degree, I actually had 160 credits, enough for a master's degree, not even a bachelor's degree. And here's the reason why. I didn't know where I was going. So I took what people told me was generic stuff, which wasn't really generic stuff. In the end, I had to spend an extra 2 years in school. So the key is, Tin Man, if you know where you're going, you know how to build the plan or the route to get there. If you don't know where you're going, I would suggest you focus on certain things that are going to help you get to anywhere. Now, I would love to say just go learn Linux and just learn server virtualization and learn to code. And guess what? If you wanted some of the engineering jobs, that would prepare you for some of them. But if you wanted an architecture job, it wouldn't be preparation at all. So we really need to know where you want to go. So let me give you some guidance. Let me tell you the things that employers are actually looking for in the perfect employee. And until you can figure out where you want to go, then we can talk about these things. In any job that's going to pay you over 6 figures, and most of these tech jobs can, your ability to communicate is going to be absolutely essential. Your ability to get information, ask the right questions, and communicate in a manner that brings out the best in everyone. So if I had no idea what kind of technology thing I wanted to do, I would start there. And we'll talk about the tech there after in a minute. I would then learn on how to sell. No matter what your job is, if you don't know how to sell, you're not going to be effective. And here's what I mean. Let's say you're an architect. You're going to need to sell the client to purchase your solution. let's say you're an architect. You're going to have to sell engineers to work with you on your project and other engineers. No, let's say you're an engineer and you found some really cool solution that no one's ever thought of. And I've seen a lot of great engineers do that. If they can't sell it to their management, the innovation dies right then and there. So the ability to communicate are going to be critical. For any job that's going to pay you well, you're going to need to present yourself effectively, knowing how to give a presentation. If it's an architect, let's face it, just to actually get hired, you're going to have to give a presentation typically to a big panel at the last part of your architect interview. Now, if you're an engineer and you want to do more than just sit behind a desk and be hidden in the closet, and you really do want to in the world of AI, then you're going to need to know how to present. And, if you've got good leadership skills, you'll be successful in any field. So now let's think about the tech career that you want. You really need to know what it actually is. And here's the reason why. If you wanted to be an architect, you're going to have to understand the network, the data center, and all the cloud technologies, and how to put them together in a manner that's going to optimize business performance. By comparison, if your desire was to be a cloud engineer, you're not going to be spending all that time in front of the customer. You're going to actually have to build the designs that the architect actually taught you. So while I don't care if the architect knows how to do construction or building, I really don't. I care if they know how to do design. I don't care if my architect needs to code. I don't care if my architect understands how to play with Linux, because it's not their job. But now I've got a cloud engineer who needs to understand Linux, who needs to understand Python scripting, who needs to understand Bash shell scripting and Windows PowerShell scripting, who needs to understand Terraform, and who needs to be an expert at configuring things on the cloud. So as you can see, Tin Man 120, you've got a completely different set of skills here. And that's where the problem is if you don't know where you're going. So what I would say is build these skills that make you more agile, those leadership skills, those sales skills, those business skills, those communication skills. And when you know what you want to do, then get laser focused. Because if you start learning how to code, which is a fine thing to do if that's your goal, and now you're in a job where you've got to design, present, and sell, they don't care if you know how to code. And I hate to see you waste your time, effort, and learn things that are totally unrelated to your job. And that's the problem. You're like that undeclared major, and I was that undeclared major too. I didn't know if I was going to be learning internal medicine or wanted a master's psychology for human performance, which was interesting to me. So, that's kind of the thing. So I'd like you to figure it out. Now, I can tell you, and a DevOps engineer was another different set of skills, because they have to be really great developers who then have to also understand the DevOps operations, culture, CI/CD pipeline. So they're all different. So that's what I would say is figure out what you want to do and then run towards it. And until you figure it out, get all those other transferable skills that'll work with you anywhere, like communication. So that's how I would play it. How about you, Mike?
I agree with you, Mike.
A long time.
I would say probably focus on the universal skills, ones that you can take into any type of job. It doesn't matter if it's retail, if it's technology, if it's healthcare. Your communication skills, your presentation skills, and believe it or not, your sales skills. Learn how to persuade people. Build that skill up, because you're going to persuade somebody eventually to give you a job. Then you're going to have to persuade somebody to give you a promotion. You may be on a customer-facing side, so that's where that can help you. That's one of the things. If then you're still trying to figure out, what is it that I really like? Well, guess what? You'll have to taste test a little bit. But before you taste test, this is my recommendation, and that goes in unison with what Mike said. Find a job that sounds appealing to you, and then reverse engineer it. Take a few of them, compare them, see what are the same like skills. You may notice that some architects' jobs for some reason list that they want you to be great at Terraform, and then you'll read 5 other ones that tell you don't. Why is that? Try to see, is this really a necessary skill that you might have to learn? So reverse engineer that process. And if you wanted to save some time, look for some mentors, look for some help. People have been there, have done it, that can guide you into the right direction on what it is that you might want to do. But you can't specialize in something you don't know. If you don't know about something, how are you going to ever consider it? Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And, go out there and ask people that have done the role. Don't even avoid the job descriptions, because I've never even seen a real one in my life. But go out there and ask a distinguished architect or a principal architect or a principal engineer about engineering or a principal architect about architecture. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay. And it looks like we might have a follow-up from Tinman. It says, how do I figure out what to specialize in, or even if I ever want to specialize in something?
Well, the key is you have to know yourself and what you desire. You really have to think about it. What you're really asking, if I really want to take this question and boil it down into something else, you're basically saying, which plane should I get on? And I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time at the airport because I used to travel a lot. And some days I wanted to go to my home and I took an airplane flight to Athens, Greece. Other days I had to go to work and I'd go to Dubai or Abu Dhabi. Another day I had to give a presentation in London, so I'd go to London. Another day I had to go to Reading, so I'd go to Reading. But I didn't know which plane to get on until I knew my destination. So if you really don't know what you want to specialize in, at least pick a generic role, like a generic cloud architect versus a cloud security architect or a cloud IAM architect or a cloud network architect. Or by comparison, if you want to be a cloud engineer, focus on being a cloud engineer, but develop those skills. But you got to know what you want to do. Because otherwise, there's a 75, 80% chance or greater you're going to learn the wrong things. And, you know, it's not like if you learn something that you don't need, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to help you either. So what do you like to do? I'll give you some things to think about. Do you want to be an executive that gets paid a lot and has a tremendous amount of respect, and you talk to clients about optimizing their business, and you design a technology solution to do so, where you don't touch the tech? If so, you want to be an architect, like a cloud architect or an enterprise architect. Now, do you want to build systems on the cloud and be stuck behind a desk all day long, staring at the screen, writing Terraform scripts to build stuff, writing Python scripts, you know, literally going into the Unix systems and using VI or sudo nano or one of those things and editing files and installing programs? Then you want to be a cloud engineer. And that's fine, because you want to do that. What if you're a great software developer and you want to automate software releases? Well, now you can start thinking about a DevOps career. But see, each one of these careers are different. So what do you want to do, Tinman? What makes you happy? What's going to make you happier? Entertaining your clients and taking them to dinner and taking them to golf and giving a presentation and not touching the tech? And you're looking at architecture careers. Looking at optimize your client's business performance? Again, architecture careers. Making the tech actually work? Now you're in an engineering career. But each engineering career requires completely different skills. You know, Mark and I both come from networking. We really do. I spent my life on IP multicast video, voice and video systems, and BGP. Mark's been spending his life on software-defined networking and virtualized WANs and all kinds of cool technology. And our skill set is completely different than each other. And we both work on networking. And that's the key, is you have to have the right skills for the job. That's why if you work as a nurse, they don't give you the opportunity to work as a physician. So you're going to have to figure it out. If you tell me what you like, I can help you figure it out. Maybe you could tell us some things that you actually enjoy, because I'd love to help you. In the meantime, while we wait for that, let's go to the next question.
All right, this is from, I'll pronounce that, Simon or Simon?
Yeah. Okay.
As I know, the cloud architect pre-sale role is, as I know, the cloud architect is a pre-sale role. What about a post-sale role, like an account manager? It seems like they both need to understand your clients, but which one has more career potential?
Okay, so before I answer that, if you've got questions, please ask them. We want to help you. So Simon, the architect can be a pre-sales or a post-sales role. The account manager is always a pre-sales role. Here's what an account manager means. Sales rep. So, you know, when you look at an architect and you look at a sales executive, they both have a tremendous amount of potential, but it determines where you want to go. An architect could very easily move into a chief information officer role, a chief technology officer role, but you know, a chief technology role may actually be lower than some architect positions, but a chief architect, which could be $1 million job, or a CIO could be a big job for a great architect. I know plenty of account managers that earn $1 million a year selling storage, selling networking, selling cloud. So, you know, you can do that too. Now, the sales or the account managers can move into the VP of sales, the SVP of sales, And a lot of times you see salespeople actually becoming CEOs of companies, because what's the lifeblood of companies? Sales. So the architect is usually pre-sales, but I'll give you the difference of an architect in a pre-sales role versus an architect in a post-sales role. But an account manager is always a pre-sales role. So a pre-sales role for an architect would be, I work at AWS, I work at Google, I work at Microsoft, I work at Cisco, I work at IBM, the Dell Cloud, Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, PricewaterhouseCoopers, etc. We go in there, we design a solution, and the customer says, yes, I want this solution. They say, yes, I buy this solution. And we go to our next client, and a team of engineers comes in and builds it. That's a pre-sales architect, which most of us work at. Now let's talk about a post-sales architect. Say I've trained one of my students that works at JP Morgan Chase Bank as an architect, or any other end client as an architect, because we've got lots of graduates working there. Here's what they do. They ask the executives the goals they have with their business. They design a technology solution, and then they have to sell that solution to the executives in that company, because nobody writes a check without, understanding what it's going to do for the business. And then when it's time to build it, those architects move on to a new project, and those engineers go and build it. So the architect, generally speaking, won't be touching the technology in 90% of jobs. They're going to design it, present it, sell it, build the teams, manage the stakeholders, potentially re-architect business processes, and it's all there. But an account executive or account manager is always a pre-sales role. And Simon, I want you to think about something. Pre-sales roles generally have much more upside potential. And here's the reason why. Let's say you got Mark and I. Technically, when it comes to networking, we're equal. Who knows? Mark might even be a little more technical than me because he's closer to the technology, but we're equal. Mark is focusing on a post-sales role, and he makes this stuff work, and it sings, and it's really great, and we love Mark, and we need Mark for doing things like that. Me, I'm on a pre-sales role, and I bring in $500 million in an architecture. So who do you think is going to get more notoriety? The person that brought in the $500 million, or the person that makes it work? It's the person that brought in the money. Was that Jerry Maguire movie when Cuba Gooding Jr. says, show me the money? Well, if you contribute to the organization's revenue, you add to the earnings, and you will get much more opportunity being pre-sales than post-sales. It's one of those sad things that the people that actually make things happen are typically those that are the least rewarded. And the people that go and bring in the big dollars, they're typically the most rewarded.
Yeah, and you also want to understand, we're not saying that you don't need one compared to the other. You need both in the process of bringing about the solution. But if you put yourself, and this is the important thing, right? That this mindset, put yourself into the perspective of the person that owns the company, the owner. So when they look at it, they're going to look at it, what raises money in the company, what brings in the money. Everything else to them is going to be just the liability to a sense, right? It's a cost. So make good friends with the CFIO, if I'm the chief financial officer, if I was you. But that's how you got to look at it. And if you keep that in mind, you'll start noticing what side do you really want to be on where there's the highest upside. And generally speaking, and unfortunately, because engineers, you need them. Without them, it's not going to work, but it's going to be the sales side of things.
Exactly. And those engineers are deeply critical. They're not less. Unfortunately, they're paid less because they're not bringing in the big dollars. But keep that in the back of your mind. It's a great question. We'll get to the next one. But before we do, ask us your questions. Mark and I have incredibly busy days, but we love to help people build their careers. So please feel free to ask your questions in the chat box.
All right, here we go. Diggleman1 asks, hey, Mike, my new role is in vulnerability management. Would it be advisable to further specialize in that or be a more general security architect?
So, Dingleman, I'm going to give you options. This is, again, sad, but the people that are closer to the money will earn more. So if you specialize in vulnerability management, that's fine. Now you're a specialist technology professional, and that's going to have good opportunity. But if you focus more on bigger things, the whole security that you're dealing with, that gives you many, many more opportunities. Guys, I'm using some new AI software on my Mac. It comes with it. So it's adding weird stuff in the background. I don't know, but it looks kind of cool to me, but it's nothing that I did or we did or our team did. So there's that. But Dingleman, and I know you, and congratulations on that new job you just got. I know you're one of our students, and we're super happy for you and proud of you. What's going to make you happy? And I'm going to tell you, there were times where I had so much fun consulting on IP multicast video. I mean, I got to tell you, running around the world in like 2000 and 2001 and 2002 and setting up voice data and video to people's homes. It was the first time anybody ever did it. It was the coolest thing everywhere, and nothing ever worked. And I got to put my propeller hat on, get geeky and figure stuff out. And I kind of loved it. I really did. And that made me happy. And then, years later, I realized that I wanted to earn more and I wanted to be treated with more respect and I wanted much more career potential. And I moved farther and farther away from the tech. I moved into an enterprise architect role. And at that point, Dingleman, my manager, asked me to remove my CCIE number and CISSP number off of my business cards. And when I asked him why, and he said, Mike, you're in the big leagues now. He said, do you want to be seen as an executive or do you want to be seen as that hands-on techie? And I was like, all right, I got to let it go. So I take a lot of yoga classes, usually from my friend Todd McLaughlin at Native Yoga. It's great. Every once in a while, I pop into another yoga studio, and a yoga instructor said something to me very long ago that really hit me. And she said, let go of that which does not serve you. And she was talking about emotions that you have that might be negative, that are impacting you. But the reality is, at some point in the future, you're going to have to let go of some of those things if you want to move up. So Dingleman, what's going to make you happy? Will you be happier in a more technical role? And if so, go focus on that specialization. And being an expert in vulnerability management is a great specialization. It really is. And there's going to be plenty of demand for it. There's going to be a lot of it. Or if you're more interested in dealing with the executives and working with a security policy and determining what kind of training the people need, then you're in a position where you'd move up into more security architectures that are more generic. So it's all based on your goals. And that's the thing. There's no right or wrong answer. Look, I learned internal medicine in my youth. Why? Because I like talking to people and making them better. If I was interested in more money, I would have studied surgery. But surgeons don't really talk to people. They cut and they use power tools, and I'm not mechanical at all. So that would be a disaster for me. So you got to do what matches with you, and you got to do what makes you happy.
I agree. If you're going to have two phases, you're going to have one phase in your life where you're going to want to go make money, because realistically speaking, money is important, almost as important as breathing. We need it. And then you're going to get to that phase, the one that you really want to be working towards is, what is it that you like doing? Because naturally, over the progression of your career, you're going to figure out what are you actually good at doing to be able to assist the most people with. And that's eventually what you want to focus on. We understand we've all been there. There's a time in your life, you got to do what you got to do. But for something that you're going to spend so much time in eventually, do something that you relatively enjoy, not something that you dread, that you can barely get out of bed. You want to be able to jump out of bed, be excited for your job so that you can help people. Same thing with us. We're excited to be able to be here, answer you guys' questions. We got thousands of students that ask us questions for their help. For example, it's piling up right now. So come on, feel free to ask us questions when you have them. Otherwise, I got to go back and help our students as well.
Exactly. I'll send Mark back to work, and he's got work to do. But if you've got questions, we want to help you.
Yeah, he pulled me up. He said, "Hey, Mark, are you interested in being on UPED and doing some Q&A?" I said, "Fantastic, let's do it." But I have quite a few things piled up that I still need to get done.
Simon, I also want to know about the sales roles like the solution specialist.
Yep, he says.
Since the sales.
Yep, you okay if I read it for you?
Yeah, please.
All right. So Simon asks. He also wants to know about a sales role like the solution specialist. He says, since the sales component is high, the bonus is naturally higher. Would this be a better position than cloud architect?
Actually, you picked, Simon, the one sales position that's going to pay less than the cloud architect. So let's talk about sales. You can be a sales specialist, and that's someone that only sells one kind of thing, like voice or wireless. They don't get paid very well. They get paid acceptably well. And I'll talk to you about the difference. Now we've got the account manager or the account executive that sells the entire solution, the end-to-end solution. That person gets paid very well. Why? Which do you think can make a bigger impact in someone's business? Selling them security or selling them an end-to-end solution? So as soon as people pigeonhole themselves into a sales specialist role, poof, they're out there. So I'll tell you who typically gets a sales specialist role, and I've trained many people for this role. There was a young man named Carol that I trained about 20 years ago. He was an associate sales engineer at Cisco, which is a trainee position. They take people, they bring them in as associates, they pay to train them. And I started mentoring him while he was in that program. I got him out of that associate program and into a full sales engineer role within about 3 months of work because, he was good. And then he said, Mike, where do I really go? I've got big dreams and I want to get to the top and I really want to be more on the business side or sales side. And I said, your next role, Carol, is going to be a sales specialist. It was called a product sales specialist. And why did I do it? Because it's a cross between a sales engineer and a full account executive. So took him out of his, $120,000 trainee sales engineer position 20 years ago, got him into a $250,000 sales specialist role. He did that for about a year or two, and then he moved up into a good $300,000 plus account executive, account manager role. So it's a bridge between the high-end sales and the medium sales. Now, the cloud architect is a very senior role, even though I've got plenty of people getting it as their first tech job. And it is a hybrid of business and technology, which makes it an extremely rare skill to find. Someone that can sell, someone that can present, someone that understands business and knows how to tune the business or optimize the business, someone who can give a killer presentation, someone who can write some good documentation, someone who can negotiate and also understands all the technology. So that's a better role. So I think what you're really looking at is, do you want to be like a global account manager versus an architect? And, the reality is you're going to have more upside. And I can share with you some tech jobs and salaries to put it into context. You're going to be better off, typically speaking, going for an architect role and trying to get higher in it. But, I've got some things for you to look at and that I'll give you, that I'll show you. And just bear with me a second to pull up a couple of salary things that I can show you. And so you can see where these salespeople come in. So let's say, and I'm going to share a couple of documents with you. So let's say I'm dealing with a senior director. This is a business role at Cisco. Tyrone, if you want to share that. And an architect could easily move into a role like this with a couple years experience. You can see that the average pay is about $527. And there's a pay range of $417 to $698. And what is that? It's about that. A lot of that comes down to the person's emotional intelligence, their leadership, and their bonus based upon how good of a job they actually do. So that's a senior director. Now, while we're at it, let me close that one. I'll probably show you another senior director because the reason we have our elite program is that's to take a lot of our architects and move them into principal architect roles or bigger business roles. Here you've got another one, another senior director role that I posted up there. Tyrone, if you want to share that. You can see, again, you're dealing with a little over $500,000 for the average senior director. Now, let me pull up a principal architect to put it into context. And I was a principal architect in less than 2 years. And you can too, as long as you don't focus on the tech, you focus more on the digital transformation. Here is a principal architect over at Microsoft. You can see the average pay is about $380, but the range is $300 to $500. And, again, you can be here in about 2 years if you've got some good, strong business acumen. And then I'll actually show you, we'll pull up is this a sales rep or an architect job? Tyrone, if you want to share that. So here you go. Here's a senior global account manager, which is an account executive at Amazon. Note, the pay is about $330, the midpoint. But that's actually a little bit less than the principal architect would be. And I'll show you a principal architect at Microsoft. And the principal architect at Amazon is paid just a little bit less than the principal architect at Microsoft. And there you can see, Tyrone, if you want to share that, you're looking at a principal architect, which has got, a good pay average pay of 380. So you're typically going to be better off in one of these elite architect roles than you would be a product sales specialist, which is probably going to come in at a $250,000 role. So, but when you've got salespeople that can come in at that global account manager perspective that are dealing with the end-to-end all across the business, all across the world, that's when you start seeing things get really good. So, but again, what's it going to come down to? Which do you like? You've got a lot more safety and security in an architect job. It's pretty hard to get fired from an architect job if you're doing your job and contributing to revenue. It's pretty easy to get fired from a sales job if you don't make your number quarter after quarter after quarter. But, if you're comfortable with that risk in sales, there's often a big rewards. So you got to think about what makes you happy. I like the architect job. I've always tried to be on the more sales side of the architect job because I like it better. I like people to know I'm bringing in revenue and why. Well, I've been in tech now for well over 25 years, and I've been an architect for 25 years. And because I always focused on sales, every time the organization's had a layoff, and I've been through over 20 layoffs, I've never been laid off because I'm always bringing in money. And when it comes down to the manager's decision to do layoffs when times get tough, here's what they do. First, they rank the people from best to worst. The bottom people, the worst people, are the first to go. And then after that, if the company's still struggling, who do they get rid of next? The people that cost the company money, back-end positions like marketing positions, tech support positions, back-end engineering. So I always like to be close to the sales. I like to be close to the money, and that's a good way to add a lot of security to your career and also increase your earnings.
So you're looking to have the biggest impact you can in a position when it comes to the bottom line of the business.
Yes.
Because if times get tough, at least the perception is going to be that you can help them get out of these tough times because you have done in the past something that many people cannot do, and that impact the bottom line. In our case, we do that through applying technology to solve certain business problems that this company has, or if we're working for the company, our client. So that's also what you want to keep in mind. Find something that has the biggest impact on your customer. And 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to be part of those layoffs.
Exactly. And if we look at it from a business perspective, NVIDIA has about 27,000 employees, and their earnings are identical or near identical to Amazon, who has 1.5 million employees. Everybody at NVIDIA is creating so much revenue that they're going to be hiring, not laying off. And Amazon's a great company. They're a great cloud. They're a great retailer, but they've got 1.5 million people to bring in the same amount of money and do the same, or net income is about the same for both companies. So think about it. One has people they can get rid of, and they've been doing layoffs. And the other one has to hire because the number of dollars each employee brings in is typically called productivity of your employees.
Fantastic. All right, let's move on to the next question here.
I think we just answered that one.
Yes, we did. Okay. Oh, Mike, we're going to have fun on this one. It seems like SD-WAN includes SASE solutions. From a cloud architect's perspective, how deeply should we understand both?
Well, I actually think, Simon, you got it backwards. It's SASE includes SD-WAN solutions. So it's interesting that Mark and I just recorded a video on all the connectivity that you can have to the cloud, which could be a VPN, a private line, often called the direct connection or express route, a software-defined WAN, and SASE. And you do need to understand these solutions because they're modern connectivity solutions. And I like to say it this way. If you want to be an architect, if you don't understand networking, everything will fall apart. If you can't reach it, you can't use it. So networking is important. Now, I would tell you that architects don't need to code because it has nothing related to do our job, and we're not going to be looking at code. But we must understand the network. Now, I love programmers. They're great people, and they make some cool stuff, but it's not part of our job as an architect. So, yes, you must understand these networking solutions. But Mark, I'll let you talk a little bit more about it because Mark is an expert on software-defined networking, and he's got more experience with it than me.
All right, we'll take a high-level approach from this. So SASE is a framework for everybody. So it's not one single solution, it's many. And it's made up from a networking, solution perspective and a security solution perspective. But what's so interesting about SASE was specifically, this idea of SASE came specifically about because of the challenges we've had now with a lot of traffic going to the cloud. And now we're having the reverse issue now where we're doing repatriation of the cloud, what we're trying to do have a multi-cloud hybrid environment. That's where SASE comes in. It's a native cloud way of providing you networking and security. And SD-WAN fits under that umbrella of SASE, which becomes a connectivity option. So that's where you want to look at SASE. So if you want to be a cloud architect, and we're talking about that these are cloud delivered solutions, think of it like a firewall as a service, a zero trust network access, where you're not automatically assumed to be okay just because you're on a network. Everything is monitored, everything is logged. You're only given the permissions based on a policy that you're allowed to have. Then next, we got to look at what else is included in that. Think of it like if you want to inspect web traffic, that's part of the security side of SASE. That's also delivered through other solutions. Now, you mentioned something interesting. You said SD-WAN includes SASE solutions. Like Mike said, it's the other way around. But what seems to happen is there is a lot of overlap because you'll have vendors like Cisco, like VMware, like Versa. They're known for their SD-WAN platform, but because they started integrating these security solutions into it, they've become actually SASE providers for vendors. So as a cloud architect, and I would actually say even as a network engineer or architect, knowing how these solutions function, and again, we're not talking about at a protocol level, that's irrelevant if you're going to be the architect. We're talking about the application of them. Think of them like tools that you have available in your toolbox. How are they going to help my business? If your business is going to be a hybrid multi-cloud environment, where they're going to split the workloads off in one of the multiple cloud providers and your data center, having a connectivity option that is like an eye in the sky kind of idea with SD-WAN that takes the intelligence out of the individual machines and puts them into a position where it can oversee everything and then make adjustments on the fly in real time. That's what you might want to go for then, because you're going to require that if you're going to spin it up workloads every couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, depending on what you're doing. From a security perspective, you have people working from home. Now you have these applications that are going to travel from GPC to AWS and maybe to Azure. Well, how are you going to apply the policies to them, the security policies? They're going to travel across all different workloads. That's where you're going to need something that understands how the cloud is put together and have a platform, a unified platform that's going to be able to carry those policies along. So yes, the short answer is you will need to know it, but at a high level. What is it? How does it work? And how can I make my customer better?
Yeah. Great answer, Mark.
Yeah. And we got more questions. I'm about to say the homework is piling up, guys.
Anyway, before you read the question, if there's questions, we'll stick around. If there's no questions, Mark and I have a lot of things to do.
Yeah. So let's get to Andrew Spencer. He says, why can't companies use ChatGPT, Google, or look at other architecture to answer or gauge their system's problems? I understand experts are needed, but curious of your thoughts. Ooh.
Andrew, it's a great question. I'm going to ask you another question to clarify it. Mark just told me he has abdominal pain. Mark's going to go to Google and ChatGPT, and he needs to know what to do. Is ChatGPT going to tell him whether he's got a peptic ulcer, a duodenal ulcer, and appendicitis, diverticulitis, SIBO, a gluten sensitivity, such as celiac disease, hiatal hernia? He can't, because it needs to be understood what the problem is. And that's why architecture and engineering are so very different. Engineering stuff, we can look at the tech, but Andrew, you're missing the other thing here. What is the right tech? What's the right tech for the business? What if I told you that it would make sense for most banks to use a mainframe for high volume transactions as opposed to something in the cloud? It'll work better, faster, and cheaper. But mainframes are great at that. But mainframes are horrible at other applications. And that's why we're seeing an increase in mainframe spending. And so you need to think about it. So Andrew, let's look at it this way. 70% of all technology projects hurt the people that build the technology. What do I mean hurt them? Meaning they take the company's money and they do nothing for the business. So that would be like you just paying 10 grand for a stock that goes to zero. You wouldn't be very happy. What if I told you that over 50% of all cloud architectures The tech works, that's no big deal, but they hurt the business by delivering nothing to the business other than increasing their expenses. So Andrew, we already did this. We hired a bunch of silly certified people that didn't really understand architecture. They took the clients to the cloud, and now people are leaving the cloud. Why are they leaving the cloud? Which is still great for cloud architects, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They're leaving the cloud because the cloud on average costs 2.5 times more than it actually does in the data center. But none of these people knew this. They took a certification. They were told it was cheaper because of economies of scale, which is completely wrong because now we're at hyperscale, which costs more. And they thought it was cheap. So they didn't think about it. They ran to the cloud, and now they're leaving the cloud. Now, for cloud architects, it's great because we'll be building them Nutanix clouds and OpenStack clouds and hybrid multi-clouds. It's a big boom for us. And that's why I never trained solution architects. I trained cloud architects because I knew the cloud patriation movement of leaving the cloud was coming because it costs so much more. Now, Andrew, what if we do the right applications on the cloud? What if we leverage the cloud for what it's good for, the system agility? And what if we truly understand our client's need and then design the right solutions? Now we're there. So we can use ChatGPT to write code. That's nothing. We can use ChatGPT or other AI to write a Terraform script. That's nothing. We can use ChatGPT to do stuff like create a Python script or a Bash shell script or a Windows PowerShell script. Why? We've already done the judgment and we know what we need, and then we're just asking for it. That's easy. AI can do that. But AI can't ask the CEO about what their goal for the vision is. And if we reverse engineer somebody else's architecture to try and see it, it's not going to work for this business. So Andrew, it puts us in the position that the doctor says, here, I've got a yellow pill, a brown pill, and a blue pill. And everybody's going to get a yellow pill or a brown pill or a blue pill without knowing what problem we're trying to solve, what medical diagnosis they have. So Andrew, I hope that makes sense. Architecture is about the business. We need to understand the business goals. We need to understand how the business operates. We need to understand the business processes, which may need to be re-architected to make the business run more efficiently. We need to look at the tech that's working and not working, and not just why the tech is performing optimally from a tech perspective. What if the tech is performing perfectly from a tech perspective, but it's actually hurting the business? Like electronic health records in the US. We used to use paper, believe me. The nurses used to place bets at the hospital on what they thought the doctor wrote. I'm not joking. Did he mean did he mean multiple sclerosis or morphine sulfate when they would look at it? They would place bets. They'd tally the money at the end of the night and see who was right when they actually called the doctor and clarified it. We went from that, which sounds terrible, to electronic health records, and medical errors increased 250%. They went from the fifth leading cause of death to the third leading cause of death. Why? Because the tech didn't work for the business, even though the systems were operating smoothly. And if all we're going to use is AI to check if the tech is working, it can't speak to the executives. It can't know the executives' goals. It can't judge the customer experience. Our world as architects is all people, which is why I love these jobs, because we cannot be replaced by technology. But you want to be a software engineer? Many of those jobs will be replaced by technology. Want to be a sysadmin or a cloud engineer? Those jobs. And Andrew, that's why I stopped selling our cloud engineering program, because those jobs are going to get crushed by AI. But many, many other jobs will do so well.
Yeah, and I just want to add, you got to understand, we're going to go through these phases, right? A new technology comes about, people get excited, adoption happens rather quickly, generally speaking, in the incorrect way, and people lose their livelihoods because of it. And that's why we always say, learn skills, gain skills that are transferable, that are going to make you valuable. You don't want to be sticking around, let's say, for 10 years for them to figure out that AI, regardless if it's ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you might have, really is going to solve the problems that they have. And then they're going to try to rehire you back because they're going to need an engineer to actually do the work. It's the same problem we've had with automation. That's why automation is there, but it wasn't this unicorn that solved everybody's problems. So the same thing is going to happen with AI in that sense. So you just want to future-proof yourself. Again, do something that makes you more valuable, that impacts the bottom line of the business. And then in background, let's not be shy about it. I love my tech. Mike loves his tech. You can still geek out. You can still be geeky. But let's be realistic. You have families to feed. We have mouths to feed. We do want a future. So make sure you future-proof yourself by gaining skills that are going to impact the business and make you valuable to it. So just keep that in mind.
Andrew, I
and
love
keep asking the questions, everyone. Ooh, Mohammed. Yeah, he said he has underlay or overlay infrastructure with SD-WAN. Both. That's how I would put it. Both. Why? You can't run cars if you don't really have any streets or somewhere to run them on, right? You can run them on dirt, but they're not going to perform well. So generally speaking, you're going to need some type of infrastructure. The underlay infrastructure is going to be your physical connectivity or your basic IP connectivity. What we do in SD-WAN, we build our private network. Think of it like, again, with virtual private networks, where we're extending one of our locations to another with this particular technology. So the overlay, think of it like a bridge that you build across whoever provides you your internet service, might it be Comcast, Charter, whoever it may be. If you have private MPLS service, something like that, you're doing the same thing. So both are needed. You need an underlay so that you have basic connectivity, basic transport, and then you're going to build your network. That's where the intelligence comes in and where you can build the complexity on it that you fully control, something that's been missing when we're using private lines, let's say like MPLS. We really don't control it. Once it goes into somebody else's network, we're hands off. We can't really do much to influence it. So again, both are needed for SD-WAN. All right, any other questions?
Let's go to Rama. And if you've got questions, please ask them now.
All
So,
right.
go ahead.
All right, it says, noob question alert. Listen, we've all been there, done that. Feel free to ask more. It says, I'm looking to do a career pivot into cloud computing. Is this still a growing field? For example, plenty of room, opportunities for new corners or newcomers, my apologies.
So Rama, let's first define what is cloud computing. And the answer is it will increase and increase and increase and increase and increase. And here's the reason why. Businesses are becoming more and more dependent upon technology every single day of the week. And that means they're going to need more technology. Now, Rama, let me explain to you what cloud computing is. Renting space in someone else's data center. So we get rid of all the brand names, and it's no different than if you checked into a hotel room. The hotel room is part of a business, and cloud computing is no different than renting a room in a hotel. It's renting space and virtual services in somebody else's data center. And that's the reason it's good. Now, what you'll probably see is more private clouds, more hybrid clouds, more multi-clouds, which is great because it creates many more opportunities. And now we've got new technologies like artificial intelligence, and many of those workloads are also going to run in the cloud. So the opportunity in cloud computing is great. But Rama, we have to be very careful. We have to define what career you want in cloud computing. Because cloud computing is just somebody else's data center that you're renting space in, you could literally have 50 to 150 different careers in cloud computing that all require a different set of skills. So a software developer in the data center and a software developer in the cloud are the same person. A project manager who does projects in the data center versus the cloud is the same skill set. A network engineer that works in networking, we still need network engineers in the cloud. So, database administrators, we need them in a traditional environment and we need them in the cloud. Data scientists, we need them in a data center and we need them in the cloud. So the cloud is just a place to put your stuff. No different than the places we put it for the last 30, 40 years. It's just now we call it a cloud, and before we used to call it a data center. So hope that makes sense, that we're keeping them the same. So there are many opportunities, Rama. Now I'll tell you the best opportunities that I see in technology right now. And I made a video just with, recently, it's on our YouTube channel with David Lithicum. He was Deloitte's head of cloud strategy. He's a good friend and we collaborate on a great many things together. He feels that architecture careers are the best careers for the future, and here's why. Most of those engineering jobs can be automated at some point in the future with AI. When the CEO of NVIDIA said it about a year ago that most people will be able to code by simply talking to their computer and it will write the software for them, which I'm sure, you know, you're seeing the end of those hands-on techie jobs, hands-on. But as all these new technologies come, businesses have a lot to benefit. And the people that know how to solve problems will always have that job. And what does an architect do? They're like a doctor. They basically hear someone's challenge and they create a solution for them to improve the business. So the cloud architect job, huge increase. Solution architect job, good increase. Enterprise architect job, massive increase. Artificial intelligence architect job, massive increase. And somewhere along the line, I think we're going to see some more big data opportunities that are out there as well, because data is a pretty strong asset, and people that know how to use data to really drive business transformation, again, are going to be in a really good position. So lots of opportunity, Rama, and now is a great time to get here. There is such a critical shortage of cloud people. Now, let's talk about the difference between the surplus of certified people and the shortage of capable people. There is a surplus of certified people, meaning people that can go take a certification, which you can do in a month. They will, generally speaking, not have the skills to get the job. But finding people that actually have the skills to do the job is near impossible. Near impossible. For example, let's say we look at the cloud architect. I'll pick that job because I love it, and I'll pick another tech job too, to show you that certifications are only a component. The cloud architect has to speak to executives to figure out the vision for their business, which means they need to understand business and how to communicate to executives. They need to know how to ask the right questions from the right people, which means they need to understand, again, more communication skills. Cloud architect will need to lead teams upwards of 50 people in a big architecture, which means they need leadership skills. The cloud architect will have to sell the solution to the client, which means they'll need sales skills and negotiation skills as they help sell it with the account team. Now, that architect will not need to know how to build stuff, that's somebody else's job, but they're going to need to understand how the underlying technology works, which is harder to learn than how to build stuff. So that's underneath, so how you can't, because you can't design what you don't understand, and they need to know the network and the data center. So poof, you got a cloud architect. And pretty much none of those skills are covered in a certification. Now let's say we have a cloud engineer who's a builder, which is the exact opposite of an architect. Cloud engineer is the construction crew who builds the stuff in the cloud, where the architect is typically the person that designs the bridge, the building, the shopping mall, the golf course, so to speak. So now you've got the engineer. Now that engineer needs to write code, which is not taught in the certification. That engineer needs to understand Terraform, which is not in an AWS certification. That engineer needs to understand Linux, which is typically not going to be in an AWS certification. So the key is you have to find out the goal you want, Rama, and then get the skills, because there's so many different jobs in cloud computing. And that's where people go wrong. They get a master's degree in cloud computing and they learn a little of 20 people's jobs, and in the end they have no skills to actually get the job. And we're constantly retraining people that have master's degrees in cloud computing. And at the end of it, I've got people like Daniel Bosu, this kid that I absolutely love. We trained him. He didn't graduate high school. We trained him and he got a job at JP Morgan Chase as a solution architect. So any of you can get the job you want if you've got the right skills. It's all about the skills, the skills, the skills. And employers have a critical demand, and there's a shortage of people that have the skills. So the answer is there. So everyone here, Mark and I are either going to leave or you've got questions to ask. So I'll wait around for about 60 seconds. And if not, Mark and I are going to get back to work. I got content to create. I got a lesson plan for tonight that I'm going to work on. But if you're here, we'll stick around a little longer.
Yep, we actually have an exciting class later on, and we're going to Enterprise Architect program. So that's going to be exciting. Our students look forward to it. So if you guys don't have any other questions, we'll be sure to go back to that and prepare some additional. In this case, we have a use case, a design use case for students to tackle. So that's going to be exciting. And while we wait, Mike, I just want to add something for Rama. Rama, you always want to look at anything you do to it as regards to a problem and a solution. So you want to ask yourself, what problem does cloud computing, this idea of renting services like servers, compute space, and all that, what problems does that solve? When you can find out what problem it solves, then look at it. Is this problem, was it completely solved? Did it go away? Or is it going to be here to stay? And when it comes to cloud computing, it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. You might have somebody who has, let's for example, say a lot of money to invest compared to somebody else. And that person might say, like, you know what? Going to the cloud, everything I take out, I got to pay for it. Then I'm renting. I really don't own it. I don't feel comfortable with that. And depending on what I want to use, it might be proprietary to whatever that cloud provider does. I don't like this idea, but I do have about a $10 million budget when it just comes to outfitting my data center and my on-premise branches. And you know what? I rather invest capital. Capital, I know I can figure out between a 5 to 10 year mark of what it's going to pay back. I can write that off as a business expense. It's going to be great. But what do you do when you don't have that type of money to invest? You might have more operational money to work with, money that you can give every month. So cloud computing might be a bit more appealing to you in that sense. I don't need to invest $100,000, $200,000 on a Nexus switch, for example, a Cisco Nexus data center switch. I can just rent one from my cloud provider. It's going to be a lot simpler. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about electricity. It's redundant. It's high available. So that could be another use case. But in any case, I hope you guys had fun. Mike, I do have a lot of work to get to.
I want to tell everybody that tomorrow we have your How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. Join us there. It's completely free. We can answer any questions you want. And I encourage you to come because we'll go over the cloud architect job. We'll go over what hiring managers desire. And we'll go over the role, and then we'll answer your questions for upwards of an hour and a half. And I like doing that because, you know, people try to book one-on-one sessions with me, and even at $1,200 an hour, there's a 27-week wait. So we'll be there. We'll be answering your questions, anything we can do to help you build your career. And it's free, so come join us. We also have a completely free document on how to get your first cloud architect job. And again, you can download that completely free. And we're running a completely free AWS Advanced Networking course. It's going to be a 2-week boot camp, which will be absolutely free. It won't be like the other ones that are out there that are created by non-networking people that don't know networking. So when you listen to it, you're blah, 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 blah. And then people tell me it's hard. It's not a hard exam. It's just the people that need to explain it actually need to understand networking. And we have 2 Cisco certified internet experts and a Cisco certified network professional who is also a network engineer. And the combination of the team has about 60 years experience. So we're going to make sure you understand networking, both traditional networking, networking on AWS. We'll have plenty of labs for you for the engineers that are going to be there. The architects are going to be more interested in obviously how things work and how to design these things. And we're going to have lots of fun. So join us. It's completely free. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in another webinar in the future.
This was fun, guys. Enjoy it. Look forward to the next time. Thank you very much again for being here.